Okay, video 9,500,000,006. I've been doing this video over and over again, trying to keep it, whether it's, disrespectful or yada yada yada. But this is final time. Final time. So someone left a comment to do a reaction to Allah in the Bible on one of my older slave videos in Islam relating to that. And so here it is. First, I'm gonna play the video, but I'm gonna tell you that from what I know about like the Bible and Hebrew and stuff like that, I took a course from the Hebrew University in I guess in Israel, but it was online. Obviously, I didn't go to Israel. On the Torah, and I learned a lot of things. Can I, read Hebrew fluently like now? But one of the things I know about is Elohim, and then also a book from, I think it's like Michael Heiser or something like that. I'll put the book up there with the author's name, and he talks about Elohim too and the meaning, and yeah. So Elohim is general, where it's a general. It means gods, God. It can mean singular or plural. When it's singular, it's referring to YEHOVAH. When it's plural, it can refer to the sons of God. It can refer to which are like angels, but that's a whole different complication. But it's what most people think of as angels and spiritual beings. And then also can be referred to the spirits of man and female, like just humans. Because Samuel, in Samuel chapter, I think it's like 28, verse 14 or 13, maybe not, don't quote me on that, but it's around that area, when Saul is trying to trick the medium into helping him, because that's why he went in disguise, because he had already did a decree that he was gonna kill the mediums if they do the stuff, and they're gonna get punched anyways. And then she calls up Samuel, and then she realizes what happened. That dude is Saul because of Sam. Anyway, Saul's like, what did you see? And she's like, I see an Elohim, referring to Samuel's spirit. So moving forward, let's just watch the long clip. It's a long clip. We're going to watch it all the way through, and then I'll have some stuff at the end. So I think it's like 6 minutes. If you make it all the way through, I salute you. Alright, here's the video.
I already know the answer. It's the Bible. It's the Gideon publication of the King James Version of the Bible. The Gideons are very proud of it because they've translated it into so many languages. If you'll turn a few pages right in the beginning, you'll find examples of the translation to Chinese and Korean and into Urdu, the language of Pakistan. You'll find it into Tamil. You'll find it translated into Afrikaans language, which happens to be the first. And the second language translated to is Arabic. And there is an example of each one of these languages from the verse in the Gospel of John, chapter 3, verse 16. And you know it very well. For God so loved the world. That's how it begins. And if you look in the Arabic language, the example that they gave in that Bible, it says Allah. Allah. That's what it says. For Allah so loved the world. So if it's not the same God, then why? All over the entire earth, everywhere I go, I find this exact same word being used in the Bible of the Christians. Now you might say, what about the Old Testament? Well, just in case you would like to check it out, you can obtain a copy of this from our website. It's called The Beauties of Islam. Let me spell it out for you. It starts with beautiesofislam.com. Go there and see for yourself. The example is right there. Page 1 of the book of Genesis, of the very beginning of the Quran. Page 1 has 17 verses. And there's the word Allah. Alif, Lam, Lam, Ha, 17 times. So just as it's the God for the children of Israel in Arabic language, and it's the God for the Arabs who are Christians, it's also the same God for the Muslims. The word is Allah. Why Allah? Why is it important to have this particular word, and why don't we have it in English? Now, I want to come to the etymology of the word. It comes from the word Elah, and Elah means God. But God is defined as what? Anything that's worshipped, whether it be something you can see or you don't see, something you can touch or not touch, something that you can hear or not hear. A God could be anything. A God could be a rock, a stick, a stone, a bone. A God could be something that you could make with your hands. A God can be something you could use your imagination for. It could be a human being. A God could be anything. G-O-D, God, could be anything. But there is no word in English for Allah. So when you translate the word Allah to be God, you've actually diminished the meaning of Allah. That's why whenever you translate the Bible from English to Arabic, you need to use the word Allah instead of God with a big G, which now gives us a clue to the problem. In the English language, they only have one word, God. Little G-O-D. It means something worshipped. It could be idols, images, pictures, statues. It could be human beings. It could be anything. This is God's. Little G-O-D-S. But when you mean the God, you have to capitalize the G. You have to make a big G. Now, what happens if you're going to start the sentence with the word God? You have to make a big G anyway, don't you? So you wouldn't know if it was God, big God, or God, a little God, just any old God. You wouldn't know. Also, whenever you're speaking to someone, they can't see the letters. So when you say God, which God? What God are you talking about? In Arabic, though, it's clear. When you say Ilah, okay, he's talking about a God. And Allah is an Ilah. But he's also Al-Ilah, the only Ilah. And when you say Allah, this firms it up. And there's no doubt in anybody's mind that you're talking about the one and only God. The word Allah in the Arabic language cannot be made plural. There can't be more than one. Okay, that perfectly fits the unique God of the believers, because there's not more than one. He's only one. There's no God beside God.
Anyway, so I'm going to read the article, and it'll explain a lot. And like it's what I was thinking before I ever read the article. The article puts it together so much better. And I actually did learn some things from the article about well, you'll see. The word Allah in Islam. This is at thearabicbible.com. So, yeah. The word Allah in Islam. How does the word Allah relate to Islam and its teachings? The pamphlet examines its roots, its uses, and its misuses, and makes strong practical application of that to Arabic, English-speaking Christians in evangelizing Muslims. Allah and its use in the Arabic language. So first off, this is what I already knew, because I used to donate to an organization that would, not only translate Bibles, but they also would smuggle Bibles into like Arabic countries and other places, like atheist countries, where it was illegal for people to have a Bible, and there was Christian communities there, right? And they talked about why they used Allah in the Arabic Bible that they translated, and it's because that's just the common word for God in Arabic. It had nothing to do with because Allah is the same God. But it's not that at all. Moving forward, Allah and its use in the Arabic language. The term Allah, Arabic, and it shows the Arabic, is the standard Arabic word for God, and is most likely derived from a contraction of the Arabic article al and ilah, which you see in the video, so he wasn't lying about that part, which means deity or God, to Allah, meaning the sole deity or God. And this makes sense because Elohim, when it's used referring to YEHOVAH, the main God, it's plural. But she says Allah is not plural, which this probably could be the case. But Elohim is. The place where they use the name Allah is where, or I guess it's actually called himself. It's not a name. It's a title, like God. The title Allah is in the same place where they use Elohim, which is not God's name at all. It's a generic term for God, like the God, right? So, yeah. And then judging from some other things that I was looking up, it sounds like that Allah in general, like in the Christian use, is the same God, but not in Islam, and that Muhammad was a liar. And, he also was a terrorist, but that's a whole nother story. We'll do another video on that. And I don't mean that to be disrespectful, I'm just telling the truth. There is another theory that traces the etymology of the word to the Aramaic Allah. Today's Arabic speakers from all religious backgrounds, Muslim, Christian, and Jews, use the word Allah to mean God. In pre-Islamic Arabia, pagan Meccans used Allah as a reference to the creator, God, possibly the supreme deity. So even the Meccans used the word Allah. So it sounds like it was possibly the supreme deity over their whole echelon of gods, right? Which actually fits better with the biblical use of it in the Torah, because, like I said, there's when it's Elohim, which is often in capital or whatever, different, and it's referring to God. It just depends on how they use it. When it's referring to God, it's singular. When it's referring to the sons of God or angels or whatever, it's plural. So, yes, it is. Anyways, the first known translation of the Bible into Arabic, which took place in the 19th century, uses the word Allah for God. In fact, Arabic Christians were using the word Allah for God prior to the dawn of Islam. So they were using Allah before Islam. So, yeah. And it's important to note that they were using it in place of Elohim. So they knew the whole connection. So they were actually referring to something different than what Islam is, in place of YEHOVAH. So they were using it in the generic sense, but they didn't use it to replace the name of the God of the Torah, YEHOVAH, or Yahweh, or whichever one you want to use. Allah is a generic word for God, but not the personal name of God. Radical Muslims in the West claim that Allah, not YEHOVAH or any other biblical name, is the name of the one true God. As an example, closer to home, Christians and non-Christians alike use the word God in English, which is addressed in the video, but that does not make the God of the Bible the same as the God of the Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, or others. Another example is that when irreverent people use the expression, "oh my God," in their day-to-day communications, they are not referring to the God of the Bible when they invoke that term. When the Prophet of Islam started his ministry in Mecca, he considered at one point uniting the Arabs under a different name for God, which is kind of weird because anyways, his favorite was Al-Rahman, but he chose Allah to name his God. After the spread of Islam in the Middle East, Arab Christians continued to use the word Allah since it did not have any negative connotations to them personally. Once again, it is important to understand that both before and after Muhammad, the Allah of the Arabs was not the Allah of the Arab Christians. Booyah!
Second point is this: it can't be made female or male. There's no gender to the word. In Arabic, all the words have gender. All words have gender. But this particular word is only having gender because of the Arabic language, not because Allah has gender. I'll give you an example. It always says like Allahu. This means Allah, He is. But when we say He, it's out of respect for Allah, because Allah is without gender, because He's not like His creation, not male, not female. Additionally, we find that the examples in Quran, for instance, when Allah is talking about Himself, you'll find it says Nahnu. Nahnu means we. And Allah refers to Himself as Nahnu. He also says Khalaqna. He says Khalaqna. What does that mean? He's saying that we created. And throughout the Quran, you find Allah referring to Himself as we, our, and us. And right away you're going to say, okay, if that's not plural, then what is? In fact, this is the royal we used by a king or a queen when they're giving decrees. We have it in English too, so you can understand. The king says, we decree the following, and he's talking about himself. It's the royal we. Now, I thought about this quite a bit, and I was trying to think, how could I give a better example? After all, most of us, myself included, never met a king, never met a queen, and so I'm not really familiar with that usage. Although it's there, I'm not sure what you're talking about. So then in studying the English language, we find that it's true that we do that when we speak to someone directly. Watch this. When I say, for instance, this cup. Okay. I would say, this is a cup. This is a cup of tea. I would say, this book is. I would say, those artifacts are. Those are. This is. These are. So I'm saying is and are. Did you catch this now? These things are. This is. Now when I speak to a human being, how do I do this? Well, I will say, you guys, all of you are. All of you are. A-R-E. But when I speak to somebody directly, do I say you is or you are? I will say you are. Why? Simply because this is the respect, honor, and dignity that I'm giving. There's no plural there. When I say to you, you are my friend. You are a lovely person. But why am I saying are? Why aren't I saying is? You is my friend. You is a lovely person. You'll say, man, this guy doesn't know English language. And in fact, that's how we can understand this usage of we and our when Allah is talking about Himself.
Back to chapter 2, verses 285. Brian, you're not getting the point. I'm not making an argument on the plural as a proof of a plurality within Allah. You're missing the point entirely. What I'm trying to show you, Brian, from chapter 17, verse 1, is how Allah will shift pronouns even though He's speaking of Himself. Allah goes from saying that He's a we to Him being a he and a his. So you're not getting the point. I'm not using the we to prove plurality. But with that said, there is no evidence from any contemporary Arabic document at the time of Muhammad where the Arabs used the we and the us as a royal plural or in a majestic sense. That does not exist. Don't buy into that assertion. Challenge them. Say, show us any contemporary Arabic documents where people use the royal plural, the plural of majesty. That is a convenient cop-out to try to explain away these difficult passages. If you actually go to the earliest explanations by Muslims, that's not what they proffered. Muhammad never said, oh, that's because Allah's speaking in a majestic way. That's a convenient cop-out of trying to avoid dealing with this problem of the use of the plural for Allah.
And he also switches between the plural and singular pronouns.
Exactly. How many people do that when they're speaking of themselves in the plural of majesty? But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
So like this whole argument is just dumb. It's not even that wow. And then I watched all these other people watching the video, and I was like, did no one else think to like look and see? I don't know. I'm sure there was. Maybe I missed those videos, but I've seen an atheist do it or saw. There's a lot of stupid people out there, and a lot of people who just kind of look at things and they don't think about it. Yeah, don't be that kind of Christian or Muslim or whatever you are. Examine stuff and know that these people are often pushing these things. Like the dude that made the video, like he is probably a snake. I don't know for sure, but I'm gonna say he's probably snake tongue, just like a lot of the other ones who push false information just to try and further control people and keep people in this daze of ignorance and not know the truth.
Yusuf Estes is a convert to Islam from America. He converted from Christianity to Islam when he was a young man. And he gives his testimony. Basically, he had no evidence, no foundation for Christianity, didn't believe there was any evidence for it,
Yes.
Accepted it all by faith. And then a Muslim came along and showed that there's good evidence for Islam. And so now he's become a massively popular Muslim speaker. But because he doesn't debate, he can kind of say whatever he wants to his Muslim audience. And you're going to get a bit of an idea of what passes for good argumentation among Muslim apologists who don't face you in debate. So we're gonna look at 3 short clips here, and I've just divided them up so that we can sort of comment on each one.
But I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to be honest. This is not for you to, start a debate, but just be honest. Was Jesus a Catholic? And it's not open to debate, so there's no point in opening that up because you know and I know he wasn't. The Catholic Church was in business about 300 years before Jesus was born. It's on their website. Don't go like this. It's on their website. That's where I took it from. The Catholic Church was really started in Rome by Alexander the Great.
Did you catch that? So
Yes.
the Catholic Church was in business 3 centuries before Christ and was founded in Rome by Alexander the Great. So,
I wonder what Alexander was doing in Rome.
yeah, he went the other direction, didn't he?
Oh my. And I wonder what he thinks the Catholic Church believed in. If there was 300 years before Christ, they must have proclaimed something very different than Jesus. I wonder what the Catholic Church believed and taught.
So
It's unbelievable.
You're not impressed then?
No, I'm not. And I wonder where he's going. I mean, suppose we agree that Jesus was not a Catholic, regardless of his misinformation about the founding of the early Roman Catholic Church. Let's say, yes, we agree that Jesus was not a Catholic. So what? I wonder where he's going with that. I mean, Jesus was a Jew, for goodness sake.
Yeah, it's just it's common among Muslims to point out, well, Muhammad was a Muslim, but Jesus wasn't a Christian, and so we're doing a better, not realizing that Jesus is in a different category in Christianity than Muhammad is in Islam.
Yes, well, and the real question is, did Jesus believe that he was the Jewish Messiah? And I think that there are compelling evidences that he did think of himself that way. And in fact, even a skeptical New Testament critic like Gert Ludemann has said to me, I don't think you can make sense of the New Testament data unless Jesus of Nazareth believed he was the Messiah. Now, Ludemann doesn't believe it himself, but he certainly thinks Jesus thought that he was the Messiah. So that's the really critical question. Not was Jesus a Protestant or a Catholic, but did he believe that he was the long-awaited Jewish Messiah?
And Islam says yes, but they have no clue what it means. Right?
Fair enough, right?
There's
and then
no
one
meaning
would
to
need
it.
to unpack that further as to what that would involve.
So, but here's what I kind of find interesting, right? How long would you last as a Christian apologist if you we're saying things like that.
Yeah, if I said that Islam
about
existed
something, some other ideology.
300 years before Muhammad, and
Yeah.
it was when Alexander went to Rome or something.
Yeah.
You would be humiliated, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and yet it for some reason it just doesn't affect his popularity. He can get up there and say things like this over and over
I'm afraid
again.
that says something about the ignorance of those who are taken in by him. It's very sad, really.
It's a problem.
But it's up to you. It's really your fault if you're deceived. Like, it's up to you to explore these things for yourself. If you're a Muslim, it's up to you to explore these things. If you're a Christian, it's up to you to explore. A Jew, just don't take what they tell you and just be like, okay, because that's how, at the end of the day, when you find out that those were lies, that a lot of times you overcorrect and just leave, when you should have, just corrected a little bit and then seen what was false, and then worked from there. So, because a lot of people lose their religion because of the clergy, and then things that they did in their specific denominations. I'm just gonna stop it there because I feel like if I keep talking, I'm gonna say something offensive if I haven't said anything offensive already, and at the same time, I just don't care enough to have this be a point of argument and waste time. So, I guess comment in the comments. I can already see this, going the way of, of the early Muslims and people losing their head or being threatened to take somebody's, or you know what I mean. Like, they're just going crazy. I don't know. Maybe. Shalom. Have a good day. Peace, friends.